So, a few things. Firstly, running out of pebbles, as you can see. There's only 78 left. Rounding that to 80, that's about... usually I like to carry about 150, so that's about half of what I want. There aren't very many rocks nearby, but I had a thought. If there's something made of stone nearby that I can destroy, then I can just collect the rocks from that. Additionally, taking a look at our supplies, we can see we have a lot of books to read, and so much food we probably don't need to worry about that for a while. Our shortage of 2x4s, however, is concerning because we need a lot of those. I don't want to deconstruct any furniture in our headquarters because then we would gradually run out of furniture, and that's a problem. Right now, the plan is to relaxedly search around in the vicinity for supplies that could help these problems. I almost ran directly into that. Well, that one took a lot. Oh, knee pads. That's fortunate. I think things like that are unusual to find. Another thing, we can wear 2 watches at the same time, one on each arm. Taking a look, one on each hand actually. Oh, another backpack. I think one of our backpacks is actually not a backpack. It is a... where is it? Wait. Oh, it says can't wear 3 or more backpacks at once. I'm just going to keep this for spare instead then. I don't remember if I've actually gone into this basement. So now, we know that the block surrounding us is clear. Oh, I just remembered what's over here. I'm going to need to wait for the zombies to clear that area out before I can go in. Oh look, there's a bird trapped in that room. The door's open, so it's not entirely trapped. I don't think this house we've looked at yet. It's looking promising so far. Oh, and another thing, in weapons, the next weapon we're looking at trying to get is going to be either the short bow or the long bow, whichever we can make first. What did we notice? Apparently nothing important. Oh, it's in there. I think we can shoot through the door. Oh, this doesn't look good. Especially that thing. I remember one of my best characters being devoured by a swarm of manhacks. Scientists in that blob as well, right next to that hardware store we're going to need to eventually loot. Because we're looking for hardware. Oh, I think we should run now. Yeah. I don't know exactly how fast those things are, but I do remember them being quite fast. There, and now I'm pretty sure they don't have any idea where I am. This place is just crawling with danger. Looking inside here, it looks like the wasps have all died out, unfortunately. It would have been useful to have them for much longer. Why is it that there are these houses that have doors to other rooms behind things like sinks and refrigerators? This looks interesting. Probably going to want to wear that. Not very much activity around here. Rickbird is somewhat disappointed, in fact. Oh, not anymore. So here's the plan. We're going to grab the battery and then leave. Actually, how dangerous is it? Can we get a reading? Very dangerous. It only has hearing and smell, which, in this dark room, gives it an advantage over me, actually. Yeah, the best thing I could do is probably to draw this above ground and then use a ranged weapon at long range to destroy it. Fortunately, it doesn't look to be moving very fast. But I don't seem to be damaging it very well. I don't think it's going to come up here, though. I still have more carry capacity to fill. Things are going to get interesting once we can actually do things with vehicles. Wait, was I in this building before? I must have, because so much of it is looted. Oh, and if you look down here, these empty fireplaces, can't deconstruct them. But I want to see if I can smash one of them and see how many stones I get from it. It doesn't look like I can smash it. getting 40 rocks, not only to make a charcoal kiln, but also another 40 for a forge, totaling to 80, is not easy. Or at least the way I do it. I just look for small boulders to smash. I still haven't figured out a way to smash the larger ones though. Might need explosives. Or a pickaxe. Oh, it's getting to be nighttime now, which makes it both easier and harder to be out here. There's a farm plot over here. Eventually we should be able to do some minor farming. And one useful thing we can do with that is we can farm things like I think corn, or I don't remember exactly what plants you can do this with, but you can make fruit wine from plants that you farm, and then you can refine that into things like ethanol, and you can use that to make more advanced things, and I think eventually you can power vehicles with it. But I prefer solar panels personally. I don't like needing to manage fuel. Solar panels are completely automatic. So let's see what went wrong. Oh, yes, I see. So, when it gave the prompt to stop dropping things, it quitted out of the advanced inventory and began going into the advanced actions menu and immediately butchering, and it began butchering things. So let's see exactly what it butchered. The BLTs. The roadmap. Some food. And sunglasses. That's not too bad. But I hate that. Well, I suppose in order to be safe, I'm going to need to do this the hard way. There. It'd be nice if you could favorite some of these items, so that you could tell at a glance which ones you want to keep and which ones you want to drop. Since it's nighttime, having trouble to think of something good to do, because traveling around at nighttime is especially dangerous for us and for the zombies. Since we can sneak around them easier, but if we do run into them, especially shaded zombies, that's definitely going to be a problem. I had a thought that perhaps we could... Oh, I have an idea. Watch this. We're going to enter full concentration mode. Alright, so watch this trick I learned. My house is now a garage to store this bicycle in, and if we examine it further, we will notice the most damaged part is the foot pedals, which aren't even that badly damaged. However, repairing them would cost a makeshift welder that we don't have, or even have the components to make right now, and glare protection that we definitely don't have. But more crucially than either of those is the mechanic skill level 2 that we certainly don't have. And the best way to train mechanic skill is just to read books about it. The only way that I noticed to level mechanics without books is to just make wooden frames and construct a load of simple wooden vehicles. But since you need, I think, mechanic skill 1 or 2 in order to add more frames onto the same vehicle, even wooden frames, and about the same amount to even deconstruct them, you would need to build about a half a dozen to a dozen wooden frames free-floating away from each other in order to even get the mechanic skill to get rid of the wooden frames once they're there. But one thing I would like to do is in a wilderness start, since you don't have the option to use technology or advanced technology, you could build up actually no, that would take foraging because you would need to make nails. Starting in the wilderness without any technology is a bad idea in this game. It just makes everything so much harder for no good reason other than the challenge. Although we are now hungry, so we're going to address that. We should have eaten these milkshakes because they're going to expire soon anyway. And now that we have the bicycle, one thing we have to do right now is to get more 2x4s. I'm going to just quickly go over to the house next door and start harvesting. I wonder what those sounds are coming from. They're very strange. These bookcases deliver a lot of resources. But I had another idea. There's one thing we can do with these bookcases that I think would be even better than disassembling them. That sound up there was probably just us hearing the sound of us moving the bookcase. So if I navigate these bookcases to surround that window, we can have the window open without anything seeing in, and still get the sunlight from it. And now that we have all those bookcases from in that house, all we need to do is cannibalize some of the bookcases from within our own room. Oh yes, can't move the bookcases through these window frames because there's technically a whole wall except for a small window in it. And so we would actually need to move them around down through here and out the front door and up and around, which takes a lot more time. Or we could just smash the window frame and push it through the hole in the wall. But the problem with that is that we would not be able to close it back up again. So I'm just going to quickly move everything around within the house. Technically those two bookcases in the living room are closer anyway, so I'm going to use those instead. if you don't want to sometimes accidentally let go of the bookcase, you can drag it behind yourself instead of pushing it in front. There's a really irritating... Oh, there we go. See, this is the problem I was talking about. These shaded zombies you can't see until they're on you. So, here's what we're going to need to do in order to deal with them. If we stand here, the zombie will be stumbled by the fence while we attack. Unfortunately, we're bad at melee, so this is probably... you see, we have a bite on our right arm, which we're going to need to disinfect right now. That's one of the big problems with melee. If we take a closer look, we will notice... is it in here, or... Oh yes, it's in here. So in skills, unarmed combat is low, and bashing weapons is not as low but still low, and melee is slightly less low, but they're all level 0. So getting into a melee combat situation is a bad idea in all cases. Which is actually why I didn't want to do very much outside during the night. I believe that we have... I think this should be fine. There. Yeah, perfect. The one good advantage of melee... yeah. This must be how they got in. So... Usually, I would board up the window, and we do actually have enough fabrication to do that, and enough wood and nails nearby to do that as well. So I'm just going to do that really quickly instead of what I was just doing. The southeast. There must be a lot of things going on. There, now that's safe. No longer a problem. But we still need to move this bookcase. And on top of that, we're going to hope we don't find another shaded zombie by accident. Oh yeah, we're probably attracting them with these loud scraping noises we're making. I didn't even think about that until right now. You see, this is probably why we're hearing that sound. The louder sound. I probably shouldn't move furniture around while there could still be hostiles nearby. So now you see, this is an enclosed area that's still open to the air, open to the sky, and so we can just leave that open now. And technically we don't even need the window there, we could have just blown that out. But I prefer it this way, in case we ever want to change how the things work. Also, it doesn't cost nearly as many resources to board up a window as it does to make a whole wooden wall. Which is what we would have needed to do if we would have wanted to repair that damage. Also, you can see the health of our limbs is degraded slightly from the repeated combat recently. Usually I just sleep to restore that, but I usually prefer to wait until I'm dead tired to sleep for increased efficiency, and maximum efficiency even. What else? Oh yeah, like I was going to do originally, I'm going to take, I think, 5 of these. No, actually, I'm only going to take 3. And now I'm going to go through the usual routine I have, where I'm going to cook things with the fire, and also read by the fire, and maybe craft some things if I need to. Lemonade. Making this will increase calories, but decrease the amount of total quench available. Also increase enjoyment. But does it decay? I don't think it does. It definitely doesn't say that it decays. So I don't see any intense badness to doing it this way. There, and now we have spare lemonade for later. We can also apparently make coffee, which also has a similar effect, although no calorie. I prefer things that don't decay very quickly, or at all, preferably. Oh, and recipes like this, that you can easily just make a load of, I like, because they just train cooking really well, even if you're not going to, even if you're not intending on actually drinking it. One of the challenges is thinking of a good place to put all of it after you're done making it, though. Hear smashing coming from the east. I hope they're not trying to break through the bookcases and ruins one of them. Actually, letting time pass. That's not happening anymore. Strange. Perhaps even somewhat paranormal. And the cooking skill has nearly got to level 1 from that. I think quickly reading some of these should be one of the new priorities. I like to reveal all of the unknown ones first before anything, and just have all of the options presented next to each other. So, the first thing— oh, look at this, mechanics to 3. That's especially useful. With my current best character, I had no way to train mechanics up to 3 other than to do the wooden frame method as I talked about earlier, because he couldn't find any mechanics books. And now he has mechanics level, I think, 6, and he drives a solar bicycle. Actually, it's a modified solar bicycle with 4 wheels. It's too wide, and it has a trunk in the back for storing mass quantities of items. But enough about that. Back to the matter at hand. We're going to want to have electronics, of course. That's a priority, as well as survival. I think survival is the highest priority currently, so I'm going to train that first. Where's that sound coming from? Now it must be just beyond the house over, so it should be fine. Yeah, there was an explosion, so it must have been pretty far away because there's nothing nearby that could explode. I don't think we're in any real danger right now. And it's pretty a long time until daybreak, so we still have a lot of time to read and things like that. I don't think the submachine gun skill is very useful. The only time I actually ever used it was with the repeating crossbow because it's classified as a submachine gun for some reason. Oh, here's a cookbook. Only took a few seconds. Actually, for the character, it took about an hour to read through the rest of that. Tailoring is important, but is it currently important? Probably not. I think this message might actually be coming from something like a chicken walker a block or two away, or something similar. Maybe a cyborg. It's actually very perplexing. Yeah, there's not much else to read besides tailoring now, so that's the next priority anyway. We ran out of light. Just going to save all the books for later, and since it's only 2 hours from daybreak, and we're tired actually, perhaps we should rest in order to regain health. Sure, why not? I don't like sleeping just before morning because usually you wake up either during the afternoon or at nightfall, which is great because then you need to go through another night. And by great, I mean I hope you have something else to do while you're waiting for daybreak. So now you can see we have infinite free light during the daytime and no side effects, which is perfect. The only real threat is that the bookcases might get damaged, and then and at that point you can just close the window and no problem. And even if it was just a hole in the wall instead of a window, you could move one of the remaining bookcases to block up the hole. So in retrospect, it actually probably wasn't even necessary to keep the window there. Also, this means we have plenty of time to continue reading if we want to end the day right now, that is. But instead, I would like to look at what we have. You see, the self bow is already available since we have Survival 1 now. But is it better than the slingshot? Usually the ammo has more to do with it than the actual weapon in the early game. Well, no, I'm not going to get into archery until we can at least make the short bow. I think it would be a waste to do anything else. So since we have this bicycle now, we can just immediately get over to the wilderness much quicker than before. And if we're fast enough, we can even go straight through hordes. Need to remember to use the handbrake before getting off of the vehicle so that it doesn't fly away from you after you get off of it. I would like to clear this area sometime soon, as soon as I have good enough weaponry for it and enough ammunition. Looks like a lot of the unsmashed zombies reanimated and are now refilling the area. And it looks like a few hordes have also actually moved in. So if we speed by them, we should actually be able to draw them away from the house as well. Interesting. Now we can become zombie herders. I think 10 miles per hour should be enough to stay away from them while also dragging them behind. Or is it 4? 4 looks to be better, actually. Yeah, and I'm just going to stop right here and wait for them to catch up for a while. And noticing the bone dog is the fastest. It's inconvenient when one of them is much faster than the rest of them. So we're actually almost to the wilderness by now. Yeah, this is much less of a problem than it used to be on foot. Even the Migos aren't really that bad with the bicycle around. And of course being wary of houses that have boarded up windows like this, because that is a signal that this might be a trap house. And trap houses are an easy way to get killed, even if you're an advanced character. Oh, I don't think this is a good place to stop and start harvesting. Why are there so many Migos nearby recently? I thought maybe I could deconstruct the light boulder as furniture. Shouldn't there actually be a way to dig for rocks? I would think there would be. Only 20 rocks. Yes, so not only do we need to make ammunition, but we also need to get enough eventually to make the kiln and the forge. sure these medium boulders would be a valuable resource of stone if they were breakable this early, or if I knew how to break them. Very strange, this field here. Oh, I forgot something. Yes, I forgot to mark the vehicle for being watched. There, now we should have enough rocks for right now. Double checking, that's 44 rocks. Enough to make 440 pebbles. Actually, trying to think what other ammunition we could get a hold of that classifies as pebble. Because I know there's bearings and also marbles. Oh look, a hatchet. I think I should probably just go get that really quickly. Well, I'm really glad that there was no repercussions for that greed. I definitely don't want to draw them any of them to the house. Now back to the relative safety of the safe house, the headquarters. And that's enough ammunition for right now. We can store the rest of the rocks for later. And now that we have this hatchet, my pocket knife is obsolete. We can actually wear the leather backpack on top of the other two backpacks, bringing our carry capacity to 187.6 cups. I've never seen this before. Yeah, just going to have this crude pseudo bed over here in the corner and never use it, just as an ornament, a piece of furniture. And so now, I'm thinking about spending the rest of the time of this day, spending the rest of the daylight, learning something like mechanics or fabrication. I'm going to need fabrication level 7 in order to read that good fabrication book, which means we would need to train fabrication by making something like knitting needles, which isn't too bad actually. But of course splintered wood. And we don't have a lot of 2x4s to make splintered wood out of. And these knitting needles are expensive on splintered wood, as you can see. In fabrication we can see we've almost got to level 2 at least. We're going to have a lot of spare knitting needles, which is going to be irritating. What else? Of course, tree spiles. Tree spile is an alternative to knitting needle in this case. And so now with level 2 fabrication we can take a look at what next tier of things we can make. The go-to thing for training at level 2 is the distaff and spindle, which would bring us to level 3 fabrication, which would allow us to read the book, which would mean that we wouldn't need to train manually like this anymore. However, we would also require to make a lot of those, which is not desirable. This should raise morale enough to make it even more worthwhile. I'm terraforming the room. And our skill should be a third of the way to level 3. And how many did we make? 6. That's not preferable. Doing the math, that would mean we would need about 18 in order to get all the way to level 3, approximately, which means we would have 18 distaffs and spindles when we only need 1, and that would of course cost 18 boards in order to make all of them, which I suppose isn't too bad because I think 2 couches gives more than enough boards to do all of that with. But now it's getting dark, and crafting at nighttime requires even more boards as fuel for the fire. But right now we should end the episode because I think this is the longest one in a while, actually.